relationships between the Philippines and Italy. Part of its mission is to strengthen the business community and cooperation across the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Besides his responsibilities at the Chamber, which he assumed in 2016, Mr. Ziller is also the co-founder and managing director of the Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group. He has worked in various management roles for several multinational corporations and has served as managing director of a leading property brokerage firm based in Dubai and Italy, and was the chairman of a real estate investment fund from Dubai. Our guest is not new to the Philippines. He moved here in 2011 when he served as a director for corporate affairs of the Italpinas Development Corporation. We'll ask him about the Chamber's work to bring the Philippines and Italy closer together. Italy is an important part in the Philippines. Bilateral trade between the two countries was at 1.09 billion euros as of 2019. Italy hosts 165,000 Filipino migrant workers, and like the firm that our guest represents, there are many Italian investors here. We'll ask Mr. Ziller, what opportunities does the Chamber member see in the Philippines, and what can be done to strengthen its partnership with Italy? Mr. Lorens Ziller, thank you for making time for Business and Politics, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you know, I have known you for a while, so if you don't mind, I'd just like to call you Lorens.
Yes, of course.
So tell us about the Italian Chamber, because, you know, most people would probably recognize that there's a very big, very active European Chamber of Commerce, but you guys have been around for a while, and we were talking before the show, you have around 100 members in your chamber. So
Yes.
why are they here?
Well, first of all, let's debunk that myth of Europe, because if you look at Europe, Europe is very fragmented. So we have a lot of countries. So we have Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Poland as main countries. Now, maybe geographically, even Britain would be part of it. Now, politically, now with Brexit, not anymore.
Sure.
So Italians really identify with the Italian Chamber of Commerce, not with the European one.
Okay.
That to say or to underline how fragmented this is. It's not like the United States or other big kind of, or Russia, for example.
Right.
There is a lot of Italians here. I think few went back during the pandemic.
Okay.
From generally people identify Italy like pizza, pasta, so food and beverage, wine, cars with Ferrari, Lamborghini, or motorbikes with Piaggio, the Vespa, or Ducati, for example.
Right.
Or fashion, we have a lot of brands in fashion as well. But of course, Italy is much more than that. Italy is one of the biggest producers of machinery, for example, to manufacturing machineries, to produce, for example, steel. We had Steel Asia buy a whole line of Danieli just recently, which underlines the excellence that Italy has in various sectors. Then we have a lot of small investors that come to the Philippines to open resorts or restaurants. We have companies who are in the software sector or even services, let's call it like that. Logistics. Several Italian companies are here with their fridges, industrial fridges, so serving the cold chain. So there is a big variety of companies and activities which Italians do in the Philippines.
Would you say that the Philippines is in the radar of Italians looking around the world for economic opportunities? Because, you know, in this region, China, of course, is practically next door to the Philippines. And there are many other countries in the region that are doing well and attracting foreign investors, Singapore being one of them. How far or how close are we from, I guess, the mainstream, thought of Italian businessmen?
Yeah, let's say like that. The ASEAN in general has actually caught the eye of major economies.
I see.
And so we see a very big interest from Europe in general and also from Italy towards ASEAN.
Okay.
Now we know that
That's interesting.
classically or typically the investment hubs here in the region are Hong Kong and Singapore.
Right.
And those companies who have already been here for a while out of Hong Kong or Singapore, they see the Philippines as just an added market, an add-on market.
I see.
And those who have not been here are definitely interested to come now to this region because of the macroeconomic data that this region is showing. We are probably going to have the highest growth worldwide.
Yeah.
And with a very low population in general, which guarantees this growth long term, makes it sustainable.
Right.
That's why more and more companies are looking at establishing themselves in the ASEAN.
That's interesting. I said in the introduction that there are about 165,000 Filipinos in Italy, most of them, of course, domestic helpers.
Yeah.
I believe the number is probably double on that if you take into account the undocumented workers. But the question is, how do they represent the Philippines? Does that factor into maybe some Italians being curious about the Philippines? Because one of the things I've noticed when I've been to Italy is how different the Italians treat the Filipino workers there versus how Filipinos are treated, say, in the Middle East. They're very close. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I see a lot of similarities in the Filipino character and the Italian character. We have such, a similar joy of life. We're both very gregarious. We like food. We like, friends. And I was wondering, does that somehow make Italians curious about the country where those workers come from? And is that an advantage of the Philippines? Okay,
there is two things that I have to say. They did, I can't remember which university, they tried to establish which foreigners in Italy fit in the easiest.
Okay.
And they established that Filipinos are the ones who fit in the easiest into the Italian society. Now, this has the following reasons. So now that's the second point.
Okay.
If you analyze history, and I discovered that in a most curious way, I tell you that. I went to Naga City and I sat in one of those typical city restaurants.
Okay.
And so when I was looking at the menu, I saw one dish which was crispy tuna with sweet and sour onion. And I was staring at it. I said, that cannot be. This is the typical city dish of Palermo in Sicily.
Really? Wow.
So I started researching. And so what I found out is that during the time the so-called Spanish came here to the Philippines, half of Italy, which was called the Reign of the Two Sicilies, was under the flag of Spain.
I see.
So, of course, the majority of the Jesuits, the Dominicans, and the other congregations, most of them were Italians. And they brought here to the Philippines their way of life, their culinary taste,
that's so interesting.
Their culture, so to say. And that's why the south of Italy is very similar to the Philippines. And so if you bring an Italian here, especially from the south, they will tell you they feel at home immediately.
Well, I did notice that Italians drive the same way as Filipinos drive.
Yeah, in the south they do.
But I'm curious, what brought you here? I mean, I noticed from your background that you work in construction, but you've been in other industries as well. But what's your journey like?
Yeah, I was actually, by that time, living in Dubai.
Right.
That was now post the economic crisis of 2008.
Okay.
And I was also the managing director in the Middle East for the branding arm of Formitalia Luxury Group.
Okay.
So basically, I was representing Tonino Lamborghini
Oh, wow. Okay.
Casa, and we were trying to brand real estate towers. In fact, we had signed with a tower, a complex in Dubai.
Okay.
And by that time, I heard that in the Philippines, there were several branded towers coming up, like the Trump Tower, Milano by Versace, and some others.
Right.
And so I came here to meet this developer who was actually launching this project.
Okay.
And I had several meetings, and then I was asked if I can stay a week or 10 days longer because he had a business trip. And so I decided to stay. I started traveling around the Philippines, and I fell in love. And I postponed then for 3 weeks, 3 months, and now it's 13 years that I'm here.
Oh, wow.
And with the conviction that this is going to be my home for the rest of my life.
Was that 2011, or were you traveling here before and then you
No,
settled for good in 2011?
2011. Yes,
2011.
That was in 2011.
What were you doing in Naga, for all places?
Oh, I think that was, I went to the marketing congress or something like that.
I see,
And
okay.
so I came across this restaurant, and of course my culinary curiosity as Italian is always very much alive.
Right.
And that's...
Are you from Palermo, or what part of Italy you're from? And
No, I'm actually from the opposite side of Italy, from the very north.
okay.
Place called South Tyrol. We speak German. In fact,
Okay.
my surname reveals that I'm
Ziller.
half Italian, half German.
Okay.
And
It's like the fashion capital of Italy.
that's in Milan.
That's Milan.
Yes.
Okay.
So where I come from, it's where you see the Dolomites, the mountains, where you go skiing. And most of the people don't consider themselves actually as Italians, but as South Tyroleans, with an Italian passport, of course.
Right. Did you have any Filipino friends in Italy? Were
No.
you exposed to anything Filipino at all? Or?
In Dubai. In Dubai,
Only in Dubai.
being
In Dubai,
there,
there's so many, yeah.
I don't know, maybe more than half a million.
Half of the population, I
Half
think,
a
is
million Filipinos.
Filipino, yeah.
All of our staff there, I think there were 10 of them, they were all
Right.
Filipinos. So that's where I got to know actually a little bit of the Philippines. But of course, I didn't know what to expect
Sure.
before I took
Sure.
that flight.
No, but something that I was curious about, you mentioned how Italians that come here, they see things that are familiar with the cuisine and with the people. But I'm always amazed also at how assimilated the Filipinos are in Italy. They seem to pick up the language well. I mean, I don't speak Italian, but it sounds as if they get along fairly well. And it's just curious how the relationships are, even between employer and employee. It's quite different. I mean, it's almost as if they're family. I don't know if that's the general, the typical relationship, or if I'm just seeing something that's different. What would you say?
Well, we are. Italy is a Catholic country.
Okay.
Right? So,
Another common thing. Yeah.
And as for myself, having lived in various countries in the world, you can really see the difference
Right.
among people, how they treat themselves, how they talk to each other, how they grow up their families. And so that similarity with the Philippines and with Filipinos is very clear. That's why when the Filipino encounters the Italian, they feel that they belong somehow.
That's very interesting. Lawrence, we'll just have to take a quick break.
Sure.
We'll be right back. You're watching Business and Politics. We're talking to Lorens Ziller of the Italian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines.
Exalt his name in all his glorious majesty and splendor. Join the entire kingdom nation in worshiping the Almighty Father in spirit and in truth. Feast on the freshest manna of revelations, delivered only by his audible voice, his appointed son, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, and be enlightened by the real message of deliverance. In a live global Thanksgiving and worship presentation as Sunshine Media Network International broadcast Sounds of Worship,
gratefulness and thanksgiving that will make those cells live again.
This gathering of faithful sons and daughters is also streamed live on SMNI.com, ApolloKibuloy.com, and on KingdomofJesusChrist.org/livestream.
Because He loves me.
Also tune in to our SMNI affiliate stations nationwide. Receive the blessings of enlightenment and salvation from the Almighty Father as you tune in only here on Sunshine Media Network International.
Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Mr. Lorens Ziller of the Italian Chamber. Can you talk about your members some more? Because I'm kind of curious about their profile and what industries they represent. And I'm just wondering if there are other sectors in Italy that maybe we should be courting to come here to the Philippines like you did.
Well, definitely. Now, first of all, about our members are definitely Filipino companies who may have interests in Italy, either because they're buying Italian products or because they are using Italian machinery, or Italian companies who have set up their branch in the Philippines or that are trading or dealing with Filipino partners or Filipino counterparts. That is typically our member base. But we also have French companies, we have German companies,
not exclusive to
Spanish
Italian,
companies. We have a lot of companies also from Europe and even from other parts of the ASEAN who choose to be our members because they see that we do certain things right in certain sectors. And especially now lately, Filipino companies who want to do export. Because we are very specialized, especially also my first job was export manager, can you imagine?
Okay.
We are also specialized in helping companies to find export markets. And that's at the moment something that is being sought after, especially after RCEP. I think the Philippines needs to gear up or succumb versus their competitors in the region.
That's interesting. So, what are when I think about Italian companies, so you mentioned some of those, but you were saying a while ago that there are certain expertise of Italians that maybe not many Filipinos know about. Can you talk about that? Maybe I'm just thinking about what areas from the Italian business community we should be looking at.
Well, one thing we have in common as Italians and Filipinos, which is our appetite or our food, right? We love our food, both of us. So Italy produces some of the best food manufacturing machines, and starting from the gelato to noodles to many other things. I know that we have a big competition here from China or Taiwan because they try to beat everyone's price.
Sure.
But when we talk about quality and longevity of these machines, then the Italian ones are certainly the best in the world.
Are there any agricultural companies in your chamber, or have you heard of any agricultural companies in Italy that may be looking to explore opportunities here? Or?
Agriculture is actually was always considered a poor market because there is not much money in it.
Okay.
So we have never spent too much time developing that sector, but there is several companies, our members, who are active, for example, in veterinary medicine, who are active in other fields of agriculture, like additives for various products that are being produced here in the Philippines.
You were mentioning machinery a while ago.
Yes.
Is that exclusive to maybe high-end cars and different kinds of mobility transport, or are there other types of industrial machinery that Italy is known for?
Yeah, for example, we were talking about food, so food processing machinery. Then I was mentioning Danieli earlier, which is in the steel processing and manufacturing of steel products. We have presses, for example, so thermofolding presses, which could be for the manufacturing of fridges or air conditioners.
Right.
There is a real variety of things. Whatever you can think of, so the Italians have invented it probably.
What about telecommunications? I mean, I remember from the past, that there are some Italian firms also looking at opportunities here. Is that still the case, or is that an area, telecommunications, maybe IT, that field? Are there any Italian standouts that we should be looking at?
Yeah, we have one member, CRIF, which is a credit rating agency, right?
Yes.
And they do also business intelligence. They work with over 70 local banks to give them information about companies and individuals.
Right.
That is definitely one company that stands out.
Right.
And then we have other companies that do software development, for example, and companies who do, for example, what I mentioned, export promotion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is the Philippines doing any promotions in Italy to maybe get some of your businessmen to also look this way? Because you said that they're primarily here for ASEAN and probably China, and they're seeing the Philippines as an added market to do business in. But is there something that can be done, you think, that can make them look at the Philippines first and then maybe ASEAN and other countries? I mean, from a different way?
Somehow it has started, the process. I can feel it, I saw it, that now people that are looking at the region are seriously considering Philippines as a base.
Okay.
But now when we are talking about setting up a factory and a production company, then we really face fierce competition from Thailand and Vietnam.
Okay.
Thailand and Vietnam, just 2 weeks ago I was in Bangkok on a regional meeting with my colleagues from other Italian chambers in the region. And they told me that in Thailand they give you free land if you want to set up
Build a
there.
factory? Wow.
In Vietnam, they give you also free land and 10 years or 7 or 10 years of tax holiday. So we really need to become more competitive here in the Philippines. But on paper, if you look at it,
Sure.
there is no country like the Philippines.
Okay.
We speak English, we are a flexible workforce, willing to learn, but there is a few things which will then stop them. So, for example, red tape and the high price of electricity, for example, which is
one of the major,
the highest in the region.
Yeah.
And so if your factory is a high energy intensive production place, means that you cannot set up here.
I see. Now, do these other countries that you mentioned, are they promoting in Italy, or?
Yeah, they're all promoting.
They're all promoting. But have you ever, while you were there, do you remember maybe hearing something about the Philippines, or maybe say, hey, come visit, look at maybe join a business mission or trade mission?
Yeah, we have regular business missions, at least 3 or 4 a year, that come to the Philippines. We are in contact with most of the local chambers of commerce and export promotion agencies in Italy to bring companies here. Definitely, we are doing everything we can to bring in investors.
Right, right.
But I said before, we
There's
need to
issues.
do more to bring Filipino companies out, because that will bring in fresh foreign currency and will increase the overall capability of Philippine companies.
You mean bringing them out, meaning Filipino companies going to Italy?
Doing business in Italy,
That's
in
interesting.
Europe, and in the Middle East, in Africa, in wherever there is a market.
Well, you've been here a while. What Philippine companies or industries do you think would be suitable right, to go to Italy or elsewhere in Europe? Where are the opportunities?
I think that's worthwhile doing a study on.
Okay.
The moment our message is that those companies who are aiming at export, especially to Europe or to Middle East, to Africa, they can come to us,
Right.
and we may be able to help them.
That's interesting because Italy has, a big enough base. I'm wondering, I wonder if you're thinking about this, or maybe the Philippines using Italy as a springboard
Yes.
for the rest of Europe. Is that something that you think that's
Our
worthy
tagline-
looking at, or?
Our tagline, in fact, is Italy gateway to Europe.
Italy
Because in
gateway to
fact,
Europe.
from the times of Marco Polo, Italy has been the gateway to Europe.
Right.
And still it's like that. Now I know that the Belt and Road agreement between Italy and China has been suspended.
Sure.
But that was also a sign that Italy is the first country that welcomes this trade, because since the ancient times, it has always been there.
So for Filipinos who are maybe exploring opportunities to maybe plant roots in Italy and use that to service Europe, what would you advise them? Where would they go? Italy's a big country. Do they go to Rome, or are there certain parts of the country that are also worthwhile looking at? And maybe how can they go about it? What would be the most common mistakes that they should avoid?
Well, first of all, rather than spending money in trade exhibitions immediately, they should come to us and then
join your,
evaluate some potential partners and which we can find. And
So
then
you do matchups.
we do the business matching.
I see.
We do a preliminary study if their products can be worthwhile bringing, if they are of equivalent standard for the European markets, because that is also a question that arises very
Sure.
often, if they have the right packaging. But there are several products, for example, which are very much appreciated, which can be manufacture handmade products here in the Philippines.
Oh, you're practically Filipino. You've been there. Well, what are some of the things that you noticed that you think could probably make it in Europe?
Oh, there is some beautiful furniture or lampshades or
That's interesting.
many things that
Handicrafts,
in Italy
maybe?
would fly, really. Even the hand-woven
garments?
cloths, yes, the garments are absolutely brilliant. Also for several industries there that they can use them to produce, I don't know, pillows, for example, or again, lampshades I mentioned.
Wow, very interesting. We'll have to take another quick break, Lorens. Please stay tuned. You're watching Business and Politics. We'll be right back.
We don't need to explain because truth needs no justification. We are not afraid because the truth will always win. When we ask questions, it's always for the good of all. We question to build, not to break. We question to clarify, not to confuse. We question to protect, not hurt. Truth hurts, but it heals. Tune in to SM&I, where truth is free. SM&I, defining true press freedom.
Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Lorens Ziller of the Italian Chamber. I want to circle back to something you mentioned a while ago, that the Philippines is facing competition from others in Southeast Asia. You mentioned Thailand, and I forgot what other country, but they were, as you said, giving incentives, land, and you said the energy costs are more affordable. I'm just wondering, what are some of the things that the Philippines should be looking at that could make it more attractive as a business destination for Italian firms?
Well, the Philippines is a consumer market.
Okay.
Therefore, companies who have consumer products are definitely looking at the Philippines.
I see.
And to make it easier, we should give them good deals for electricity, for example.
Okay.
That will be much appreciated, I guess. And maybe some more clarity on the tax perks in PESA zones, where I know that in the past there have been say situations where things were not as clear as they seem to be.
Okay. Okay.
For the rest, I think those who are willing to come are definitely going to come, but we have to make it easier for them.
All right.
For example, there is another market which we all know about, but we do nothing about.
Okay.
For example, the digital nomads.
Absolutely, yes.
The Philippines is ideal for digital nomads.
Right.
So why don't we make a special visa for digital nomads?
I remember we were talking about something like that when we were doing an interview at the Manila Times. You were saying something about the visa. But I was looking at the visa requirement. Italian passport holders don't need a visa to come to the Philippines. But you had some other point that you were making about the visas. Could you remind me about that? Or?
I was actually saying that we have a lot of parents of Filipino citizens, so foreign parents of Filipino citizens, who are in between the choice that how do I get a visa to stay here and support my family? Right? Then, of course, you go to BOI, they say, okay, why don't you do an investor's visa? Why don't you do this? But we can make it much simpler for them and just issue a parent's visa who can stay here and look for work to support the family.
That's interesting. Yeah,
and it's all in the interest of the Philippines itself.
Yeah. Can you talk about the digital nomads? I mean, are there many young, or is it just young Italians that are, working from these remote areas, resorts maybe around the world? Is that a big thing in Italy now? Or?
Well, it's a big thing all over the world, I guess. And there is a lot of Americans here, Australians, there is a lot of Italians, Germans, French. So from all over, and they have a tourist visa.
Okay.
Why not giving them an upgraded visa? Asking them for a little bit more money, but at least they know that they are here on a regular digital nomad visa.
Right, and more suitable time frame than normal tourists. Are there any other visa issues that, or maybe visa incentives that we should be looking at when you go to ASEAN? Do you have to get a visa for any ASEAN country or none?
No.
So,
I think that is a good thing for European passports.
Yeah.
That they get a visa on entry without having to apply.
Right. Do you think Italians are also looking to maybe retire? Is that something that we should be looking at? You mentioned that there's some investors visa that maybe we could simplify, or you said the rules are, could be clearer. I was wondering if you can elaborate on that also.
No, that was actually related to the incentives of PESA.
Okay.
Where we had in the past some tax-related issues.
I see.
But I think that's, as far as I understood, it's about to be clarified and clear.
Okay.
What we can do is just promote more, cut the red tape, because even though we said that now apparently it doesn't take as much time to open a company as before,
Yeah.
But in reality,
it still takes time.
it still takes too much time.
How different is that from what Italians experience in Italy? I was wondering if that's somewhere where we're actually different. I mean, we're very common in many things, right? I was wondering what systems you have in place in your country that maybe we could see if we can adapt here. Maybe do you have one-stop shops? Right? Is that something that's common in Italy, or is it simply easier? Right?
But it's easier. You don't need to go to 100 agencies. You have one agency. They open your company, and that's it. And then the agency coordinates with all the rest, right? With tax authority, with the so-called SEC.
Sure. Now you mentioned also the energy costs. And from one perspective you can say that that's a disincentive, but from another perspective that could also be seen as an opportunity. Are there any Italian energy firms that are looking this way? Maybe renewable energy companies from Italy. Is that something that Italy is known for?
Yes. Just imagine, Italy has Enel, which is the biggest renewable energy company in the world.
Wow.
And the second company is just 1/3 as big.
Wow.
Enel has been looking at the Philippines in the past.
Okay.
I hope they get the chance and the will to come in the near future, because Italy has really the resources and the technical know-how to do a lot of projects here.
Right. Is there something that the Philippines can do? I mean, you mentioned sometimes there's a lack of clarity. I don't know if you've heard about problems of maybe contracts changing over time. That's been a criticism of the Philippines, right? Are those issues that bother Italians?
I think that falls under political risk also. So when the administration changes, then we have seen certain situations where contracts are not being upheld anymore. But I think that is then part of the general business climate. Now, even Standard & Poor and Moody's say that the risk, so the business risk in the Philippines is relatively low. Definitely, we have seen several changes after the Philippines has been upgraded in the credit rating, country credit rating. Many new financial perks are now available. For example, export finance or export credit insurance, and many things which make it easier to do business. But for sure, there is still this
room for improvement.
Room for improvement, and especially in the PESA zones where you can only have leasehold land instead of buying land. I think if lease titles will be introduced, that could make a big change.
Wow. Was there anything that surprised you when you came here to seriously look to, set yourself up as a businessman? What stood out to you personally as an Italian, coming here that was attractive versus what you saw elsewhere in the region? I mean, besides the Italian cuisine from Palermo.
When I came in, I was full of energy. I came from a very fast-paced environment. So from Dubai, I was previously in London, so business is done 1-2, 1-2. When I came here, I kind of naively thought that it could be similar.
Okay.
But I realized that everything is much more slower. It doesn't matter how beautiful or how good your product is, but you need to be liked first by your counterpart. And then you do business. So everything is much, much slower and more relaxed, which has a disadvantage, which means that you make less money, bottom line, and not as fast. But on the other hand, you probably live happier than in a fast-paced environment.
Okay. So, all right, so we're typically Italian. But I want to ask, how important are direct airlines? Because I remember a few decades ago, there was Philippine Airlines flying directly to Rome. I have heard, there were some talks about maybe the possibility of possibly reviving that. Is that an important thing to have that connection? Do you think that will help maybe build more relationships both ways? I mean, from the Philippines going to Italy, and then from Italy going to the Philippines and Southeast Asia?
Well, at the moment, Philippine Airlines does not have any direct flights anymore to Europe.
Yeah.
And naturally, Italy would, I think, be the first choice.
Right.
With the amount of Filipinos that are there.
Right.
We have already started engaging with the governor of Lombardy in Milan.
Okay.
To see whether we can find a positive environment which maybe Philippine Airlines could exploit as a European hub.
What about Italian carriers? Have you had any chance to talk to them? Are they expressing any interest at all in the Philippines? Or is China like the big magnet that's drawing everyone to go there instead?
Oh, Italian carriers, that's a little tragedy in Italy because we don't really have anymore an Italian carrier. We used to have, which now has been bought by Lufthansa, and so I guess Lufthansa would be the one who would want to
fly here.
Yeah.
I see. That's interesting. Anything else about maybe the Philippine situation here that would be helpful in attracting more Italian commerce? Any other policy changes that you think would be helpful?
Well, I think the Philippines has a great potential in tourism, for example. And Italy is very well known for tourism. I think it's one of the top visited countries in the world.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons or the examples that we've been trying to make is really agritourism.
Agritourism. Interesting.
Ecotourism and agritourism. Why? Because in the Philippines we don't have these huge hotels which can host
like thousands,
big groups, and so we can make charter airlines, charter flights. So that's not the case in the Philippines. But similar to Italy, you have smaller hotels which can cater to smaller groups or single or small travelers that travel with the family or as a couple, adventure travelers. So I think from that perspective, tourism perspective, working more on agritourism, and thanks to the pandemic, this has actually happened. Many people have set up these
like
boutique hotels or farm houses transformed into agritourism sites. So it's happening. It just takes a little bit more time.
Well, very interesting. I hope the Department of Tourism is listening to us. Lawrence, we'll take it at a quick break. You're watching Business and Politics. We're talking to Lorens Ziller of the Italian Chamber. We'll be right back.
Exalt his name in all his glorious majesty and splendor. Join the entire kingdom nation in worshiping the Almighty Father in spirit and in truth. Feast on the freshest manna of revelations, delivered only by his audible voice, his appointed son, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, and be enlightened by the real message of deliverance. In a live global thanksgiving and worship presentation as Sunshine Media Network International broadcast Sounds of Worship.
Gratefulness and thanksgiving that will make those cells live again.
This gathering of faithful sons and daughters is also streamed live on SMNI.com, ApolloKibuloy.com, and on KingdomofJesusChrist.org/livestream.
Because He loves me.
Also tune in to our SMNI affiliate stations nationwide. Receive the blessings of enlightenment and salvation from the Almighty Father as you tune in only here on Sunshine Media Network International.
welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Mr. Lorens Ziller of the Italian Chamber. I have to congratulate you because you recently had your chamber's awarding. You were giving recognition to some companies, both Philippine companies and Italian companies, for a number of reasons. Could you talk about that? What were the awards about? This is, I think, the 5th cycle. Is that right? And maybe talk about some of the companies who were given awards.
Yeah, it was our ICCPI Leadership Awards. It was actually the 3rd edition.
Okay.
And they were dramatically successful because actually I think that being awarded by an Italian entity is, in certain sectors and for certain companies, actually a very big compliment. Yes, we have had, I think, 10 different types of awards, among which
categories.
also the Ital Pinoy of the year.
Ital Pinoy, okay.
Now, what is an Ital Pinoy? Is someone who contributes to both Italy and the Philippines in their own way, in their own sector, where we had Italpinas Development Corporation winning with architect Romolo Nati. He actually was the one who invented the name Ital Pinoy. And I copied it into the awards. And then we had, for example, the Sustainability Award.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Was won by also a nice lady who, with their solar panels, is having a great success with local LGUs and other off-grid developments. And overall, we had a very happy crowd cheering, even just the nominees. They were winners because in the end of the day, being selected,
just being nominated as
was already a big
achievement,
thing. And I'm happy. I have to congratulate all of them. We even had the Restaurateur of the Year, so we had, and that was not about the best food. I had to specify because otherwise, you know, the tastes are all different. Maybe the best pizza for me is not the best pizza for you.
Absolutely.
But it was about the entrepreneur of these restaurants. And we had 3 nominees who battled until the end. Yes.
Yeah. I should disclose that I was one of the judges of those awards. Not a very easy task, Lorens, that you gave us because there were so many good choices to pick from. What struck me was, I think, the diversity of the people who were nominated. As you said, from food to renewable energy, quite an interesting selection. Was that by design, or because by the time it reached us, you of course pre-selected and screened many of those who are nominated and made a short list. Were you wanting to highlight a particular, maybe Italian expertise that maybe that's not so well known here yet, or it just came out that way?
Well, sometimes, we get surprised ourselves because in the end, it's not us who do the nomination process.
Right.
It's the public and our members. Sometimes there are really interesting companies coming up which are actually amazing. And we had, for example, the La Rose Noire, which is by the Swiss entrepreneur, Mr. Dubois, was his name. And he set up a factory in Clark with thousands and thousands of employees.
I remember that. I was surprised, and I couldn't believe that he had that many employees in Clark.
Yeah, and he's doubling now the size. So I think he has 3,000, now he has 6,000, and it's absolutely amazing because he's doing this in the Philippines. Should be an example for everyone.
Right.
They should showcase him all over the world.
Right. What made him successful, and why Clark, of all of the places? Have you had a chance to ask him? As opposed to, Clark's a fine place to do business in, but there are many other destinations. But have you had a chance to?
I think he started in Hong Kong, and he had a brilliant idea. I think he understood, coming from the hospitality sector, from the hotels, he understood that if he pre-prepares the pastries that are being finished in the hotels and sends it to them, it will cut a lot of time to the pastry chefs in the hotels, and they're selling 40 containers a month all over the world.
I can't believe the scale. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. And there was also a particular category for women leaders in your award. Why was that important to recognize?
Well, women are always very important in society and
Sure.
in business, especially in the Philippines.
But are
we
they
have-
exceptionally doing well? I mean, are they exceptional in Italy as well in the Philippines? Is that part of the reason behind it?
Well, we have actually a big event on March 8th, every March 8th,
Okay.
Which is the Women's Day.
Okay.
We hold the Women Lead Conference. So we invite all women to join the event. We have various speakers because women are or need to be encouraged because they're not only businesswomen, they are mothers, they have a family. So sometimes you see really incredible things coming from women. I have always been admirer of matriarchal societies, and I think somehow Italy and also the
Similar
Philippines
again,
are near to being a matriarchal society. You see so many
Sure.
single moms carrying
Now,
on.
there's a joke in the Philippines. They
Yeah.
say that the father is the head of the household, but the wife is the commander.
Well, definitely.
Your prime minister is also a woman this year, and
Yes.
I'm not sure what your politics is, but she's one of those exceptional leaders. That is that she one of you? You don't see very many of them in the world.
Yeah, we admire her, or personally, I admire her because she has the courage to say things which many think, but they are not. They're scared to say.
Right.
Of course, she has apparently she held herself back with the latest worldwide issues, where, let's say, you cannot really fully say your opinion. But I think she's doing well at the moment, and there is the need of more leaders like her, also here in the Philippines.
Can you talk about the restaurateurs, because there are a few of them who were nominated. I'm just wondering how, from an Italian's perspective, how does our Italian cuisine here, because there are a number of Italian restaurants that are, conceptualized in the Philippines, but they brand themselves as Italian. I was wondering if it's very different from what an Italian would like in terms of restaurant cuisine, and which ones you think are more appealing than the others. Do you have a favorite, for instance?
If you want to see Italians fighting with each other, you will talk about cars,
A pizza?
food, and football.
Okay.
So I think it's very difficult to find unanimity
Sure.
about which one is the best food, which restaurant makes the best pizza, and so on. I think every restaurant has some dishes which they make better than others, but none of them is probably the top in all.
Sure.
And maybe that is the politically correct way to say it, because even with my Italian friends, if you ask me, I will say a different place than the others.
Right.
So it really depends on the personal taste, on the capabilities of the restaurants.
And
I think
that's
the only thing I have to underline is that Italians don't like sweet sauce.
okay.
Yeah, so that
That's purely Filipino. When you see Italian food that's sweet.
and no pineapple on the
Okay.
pizza.
All right. Now it's interesting that there was also a mix of what seems like a well-known Italian, Santi's, for instance, and there was also some new ones. But Santi's has a very interesting history behind it and story behind it as well from our discussions. You want to share
Yes,
that? Or?
yes, actually, with Santis, with Werner, it's great because I'm able to speak my dialect.
Oh, okay.
My German dialect. And so that struck me when I was with him, that we have a very good understanding. But Santis, we should make a monument for Santis, because for how many years now they have been advocating for Italian, German, Austrian, and Swiss products, gourmet products, which he has brought in and made available for foreign expats and Filipinos alike. We really need to set up a monument for him.
And you were talking about Ital Pinoys a while ago, and I remember that some of the nominees were actually Italian Filipinos or Filipino Italians, and some of them were very young entrepreneurs. Can you talk about them? Are there many of them young Filipino Italians that are also now should be on our radar as up and coming entrepreneurs?
Yeah, there is actually several of them. I think second generation Italians.
Okay.
Some of them don't even speak Italian anymore.
This is purely Filipino?
They speak more English than Italian.
Yeah.
I think that is an issue because we don't have Italian schools here where children could go. But yes, there is a very strong will, and they're really hungry for success and to prove themselves, both in the restaurant business and in other businesses. For example, we had also one company, Metromart, who has shown that they can deliver anywhere, any product in Metro Manila and now also in other cities. So that was a formidable result. They have been in our leadership awards last year. I think he won the Exceptional Entrepreneur Award. Yeah. And so that just shows how much potential there is here. With good ideas, we can get anywhere, but always we need to find the right partners.
Sure. We have to wrap up pretty soon, but I was just wondering, are there any other chamber events that's coming up that maybe we should be on the lookout for?
Well, we have now our Christmas dinner on December 6th.
Sure.
And everyone who would like to join may just inquire from our website or Facebook. And then next year we will start again with, I think we have over 12 big conferences and then another 8 social events, the Aperitivo Italiano, which is very famous. It's an upscale aperitif with Italian gourmet foods and fine wines. So that's absolutely not to be missed.
Wow.
And yes, and then the usual, you mentioned the Transport and Logistics Forum. We will have a data and cybersecurity event. And then we have other things that we can, and we showcase women lead. We have a contribution to various events in furniture, where we last year, so sorry, still this year, I'm already with my mind.
Your calendar is so full.
I'm thinking, it's
we're
super full. We are upgrading even our team now. We had Italy by Design, which is a collaboration with Poly Design from the Polytechnic University of Milan. And also that is an incredible opportunity for Filipino designers who would like to upgrade their knowledge and their capacity to deliver.
Very interesting. It looks like you have a packed calendar. I should mention that I just got back from Frankfurt. In the Philippines will be the guest of honor at the Frankfurt Book Fair in 2025. But what's interesting is Italy will be the guest of honor next year. So we'll be looking at how you do things and maybe learn from your experience. Lorens, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Maybe before we go, you want to leave our guests with a message from the Chamber?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would recommend all companies who are interested in exporting their products to come to us and visit us, and we will definitely be happy to help them because Italy is the gateway to Europe.
Very well said. Thanks again, Lorens. I'd like to thank also our viewers watching this program and watching the replay, and I'd like to thank Pastor Apollo Kibuloy for making this program possible. This has been Business and Politics. I'm Dante Klink, and I will see you next week. Thank you very much.
na parol at ilaw sa mga tahanay tumatanglaw. Gayon pa man tuwing Pasko, kami laging kasama mo.
Handog ay pag-ibig ng Diyos saan ka man sa mundo.
May pagpapala ngayong Pasko, ang pag-ibig ng Diyos ay tanggapin mo. Paglilingkod sa kapwaan, pagbibigayan ang ating ipanaig sa sanlibutan. Learn to give and care for others this Christmas. Share a gift of love.
Share a gift of love.
L-O-V-E,
Share a gift of love.
L-O-V-E, love.
Share a gift of love.
Share a gift of love. Share a gift of love. Taon-taon tuwing Pasko ay may pag-asang natatamo. Dahil pag-ibig ang siyang naghahari sa ating mga puso.
Lamig ng simoy ng hangin, naghahatid ng isang awitin. Ngayong Pasko ay magniningning, may tugon sa bawat dalangin.
May pagpapala ngayong Pasko, ang pag-ibig ng Diyos ay tanggapin mo. Paglilingkod sa kapwaan, pagbibigayan ang ating ipanaig sa sanlibutan. Learn to give and care for others this Christmas. Share a gift of love.
Share a gift of love.
L-O-V-E, love.
Share a gift of love.
L-O-V-E, love. L-O-V-E, love.
Gift of love.
We gotta give and share the love, and yes, our blessings from above. Treat each other as family, hey, with a community. For every laugh we touch, there are wounds we patch. Here with no strings attached, time to share a gift of love.
Itigil na ang mga digmaan, itigil na ang mga hidwaan. Tanggalin ang galit at buot sa puso, itaguyod ang kapayapaan. Share love, share peace, share joy, sa ating kapwa ay pagpatuloy. This world will become a better place if we double our goodness instead of hate, yeah.
Sa kabila ng ating mga pinagdaanan, serbisyo sa kapwa at sa katotohanan, nananatili sa ating puso magpakailanman.
May pagpapala ngayong Pasko, ang pag-ibig ng Diyos ay tanggapin mo. Paglilingkod sa kapwa at pagbibigayan ang ating ipanaig sa sanlibutan. Learn to give and care for others this Christmas. Share a gift of love. L-O-V-E, love.
Share a gift of love.
L-O-V-E, love.
Gift of love.
L-O-V-E, love. Share a gift of love.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.